Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Dawson. Welcome to Leader Talk. This show is proudly brought to you by Brainiact. Each week we are meeting with incredible leaders from around the world to discuss all things leadership and business insights. Each person coming on this talk show has given up their valuable time for one very clear purpose: to give back to small and medium business owners. Now, are you currently running a business and realizing that perhaps being a business owner isn't exactly the glamorous picture that's painted in success stories? Well, today, Gus, Arianto, and I are fortunate to chat to our guest, Hakim Halim, the founder of Ripe Cheese, the world's first all Australian artisanal cheese shop. Noticing a gap in the market for local cheeses, Hakim founded Ripe Cheese, which showcases over 50 varieties from local artisan producers. Ripe Cheese was awarded the 2023 Melbourne Small Business of the Year and the 2022 and 2023 Australian Good Food Guide Reader's Choice winner. Hakim is here today to share some real business challenges he experienced while building Ripe Cheese and how he navigated through them, as well as the importance of building a purpose-driven business. Welcome to the show, Hakim.
Hi there, everyone. How are you?
Fantastic. And
Hey,
Hakim,
Hakim.
thank you so much for donating your time for our audience all over the world, small and medium
pleasure.
business owners. We can't wait to learn from you.
Pleasure. Yes, we'll see. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Hakim, we're going to ask you the two hardest questions we're going to ask you in this entire chat, the two fun questions. So the first one we're going to ask you, as a cheese connoisseur, we have to ask, what's your all-time favorite Australian cheese? And why does it hold a special place in your heart?
Well, I will start. This is it's actually quite easy for me because I get asked this question every single day at the shop. No questions asked. It is called the Banksia Reserve, and it's from an amazing cheese maker, Long Paddock, in Castlemaine. And I'll share with you what it is. So it is like a semi-hard Alpine style cheese. So if you're familiar with French cheese, it's like a Comté. So I call it the Aussie cousin of a Comté. Flavor-wise, it is so beefy and brothy and buttery in texture and quite savory. So if you have that, right, imagine that with a bit of olives, like a sun-dried tomato, really yummy. Or what I like to do, recently I did a recipe whereby I made a pithivier. A pithivier is like a French pie with sauteed leeks and sauteed mushrooms. And so I grate some of that Banksia Reserve in that pithivier. I baked it in the oven, have it with like a whitloaf salad on the side, and it was brilliant for lunch. It's delicious. And I think one of the reasons why I really gravitated towards this cheese and this cheese maker specifically is that they also started doing their business around the same time that I started founding Ripe. And so Ivan Lachey, who is the founder of the cheese making business, he is a world-renowned cheese maker and educator from France. So he's been brought down by the ASCAS, the Australian Specialist Cheese Association, to help teach future generations of cheese makers and cheesemongers, or anyone who's interested in cheese in Australia, to sort of improve our standards of cheese here. And so having his skill set and using amazing Victorian organic milk, you combine that, it creates an amazing marriage, a delicious marriage, I have to say. And that's why I love it. And it's our biggest selling cheese in the shop. We sold about, I think, 30 kilos during 1 week Christmas. And that's a lot of cheese for one type of cheese.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
It was mad because we ordered, I remember we had 4 wheels on order for Christmas weekend, right? By Friday, I had to beg the cheesemaker to send me 2 more wheels because we were out of stock. And Christmas Eve was Sunday. So we had 2 more days of retail and we had none of that cheese left. So thank God they came down specially for us and they delivered 2 wheels. So save the day.
Gus, you're in Melbourne. I think you're going to be visiting Hakim's shop.
Yes, you have to, Gus. 100%. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Hakim, what about when you're not busy with cheese and entrepreneurship? What do you do to relax and unwind?
I mean, I'm sure you both of you can relate as well. Food. Food is the core of my passion. I come from a family of feeders, right? Our love language is acts of service and feeding people. If we love you, we will cook for you. You know, my parents and my grandparents always say, you will never leave our house hungry. So I really nurtured that philosophy into my everyday life. So I cook almost every day. Um,
Really?
and that's how I de-stress. I love researching recipes, trying to figure out new things to cook, or perfecting recipes from my grandmothers. So that is the one thing that I really do love to do to unwind and also invite people over, have dinner parties. That's one
Well,
of the things I love
Natalie,
to do.
we're going to Hakim House next
Yeah, for
week, Natalie.
sure. Just
Yes,
let me know
Gus.
when. I'll have you over. Yeah.
It's amazing. I completely relate with that. And Gus, I know you love to cook as well. I also love to cook in my downtime. For us, it's we were taught if your fridge is empty with all the ingredients you need, your house is empty. So for us, it's always
Yeah.
full, like to the brim.
Full, yeah, full. That's my biggest expense in my life is food, groceries. That's what I spend the
Yeah.
most on. It's unbelievable what I spend on. It's like, what?
Oh, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
look, Hakim, you really do, I've had the pleasure of catching up with you before. You have an incredible story. Before we go into the questions, can
hmm
you share with our audience your story? It's truly inspirational and it will set the scene for the rest of the chat today.
Yeah. It's funny. Whenever I came here 13 and a half years ago as an international student, and I think the perception of international students in the country is that we all come in with our designer bags and designer shoes loaded with cash and ready to spend, spend, spend. But that was nowhere near my truth. My family had to sell a family home. My parents had to sell a family home to afford to send me to uni over here. And so I came here, with very little money and but with big dreams. I had so little money that I was surviving on, Reject Shop. I'm not sure whether you are aware of Reject Shop. They do sort of out of date microwavable meals, and that's what I ate for a very long time. So it was that tin of tuna tins, rice crackers, and avocado dip. That was my main meals because that's all I could afford. So coming from that, you know, I always say, being in that state was not pleasant, but it also drove me to not want to be in that state ever again. So that really was the big motivator for me. And so I, did my marketing degree at RMIT. I did pretty well. I think out of 12 subjects, I got 11 distinctions. So did pretty well for that. And
Amazing.
however, despite doing well in uni, I had issues finding a job in Australia, and that was purely because I have a non-Anglo name. My full name is Nur Hakim Abdul Halim, right? And so that was how I applied for jobs using my real name. However, no one wanted to hire Nur Hakim Abdul Halim. So I shortened it to Hakim Halim. Even then, no one wanted to talk to me. And so I approached my university counselor, who at that point of time told me, off, off camera, please anglicize your name because no one will ever hire you. She said, take it from me. Both my sons have non-Anglo names, and I've even told them to anglicize their name to get a job. And so that thought was confirmed by two other recruiters from two different companies who told me, anglicize your name, please, if you want to have a chance. And so I anglicized my name to Shane Hallam, and guess what? I got a job. So I had to be rejected for over 150 jobs to anglicize my name and finally land a job. Even though I've had experience in marketing in Asia, I wasn't a fresh grad. I had experience in marketing. So that was that. So I did my corporate career and then, did all of that, finally landed in the role of online marketer in various industries. However, 8 years ago, the company that I was working for was going through a bit of a scandal, which I will not elaborate. And so that sort of taught me or showed me what the responsibilities of a business owner should be. You should be treating your staff well and paying them well as well and support them where you can. And I just didn't like what was happening. So that part of my chapter was shut. And so myself, along with my business partners at the point of time who also left their corporate roles, bought our first deli at the Queen Vic Market. It was an established deli. And after being in that deli for 1.5 years, I decided that I needed to branch out on my own and create right, because I saw the gap in the market. And to 2024, here we are now, and who knows what's next? Yeah. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Out of curiosity, Hakim, can I just ask the name? You've obviously gone back to Hakim Halim. When did you change that back? Or was there some sort of moment when you go, do you know what? I can be who I am. Like, was there a pivotal moment in your life?
Yes, it was. 100%. It was when Ripe started. It was the first day of Ripe. I just told myself, you know what? I have created enough credibility and influence behind me as a person to revert to my name. People should know me for who I am. I'm proud of my name. I'm proud of what it represents. I'm proud of my culture. So if people can't pronounce it, people can't get it right, you know what? They'll just have to learn. Full stop. I have a very no holds barred approach to that anymore. Like, yeah.
And this is what we love about you, Hakim. You are so authentic. We can just tell. That's why I had to ask that question. And
Thank you.
Even when the angle that we're going to take with this chat, people love, obviously you've got success stories and people see you and they go, wow, Hakim Halim, cheese connoisseur, he's done amazing. And yet, there's this glamorous picture painted, and yet here you are, ready to share your challenges that you experience. So obviously you've built Ripe Cheese, you experience challenges. Can you share some of these challenges with us and perhaps how you navigate it? Because when people look at business owners, they go, they see these success stories, but they have the success stories here, but there's all these challenges that are associated with becoming that success that no one sees because no one talks about it. So we've got people that are listening now. They're ready to listen to the challenges because I'm sure they're experiencing very similar.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I might be part of a very unique group of small business owners who started their business a few months before COVID hit. That was a huge challenge. You can imagine. It was one of the toughest things I've had to endure in my life. I mean, as you know, owning a small business is hard. Running a small new business is doubly hard. Running a small new business in a global pandemic is almost like, let's sign your death warrant here right now and just give up. That was how I felt. Because when we started in 2019, the 29th of November 2019, we had a successful run till after Christmas. Like, sales were amazing for a new business. We were like raking it in. We were like so happy. But then when COVID hit, it just went, it just nosedived. And I knew, even though I knew that the dive of the sales was in no fault of my own. It was a global pandemic. There was nothing we could do. But I took that failure really, really personally. And it affected my mental health for a bit, I have to say. I wasn't diagnosed, but I felt like I was depressed. My anxiety was just over the roof. And I had to hide it from a lot of people because, again, every business owner has a bit of an ego. You want to make sure that you want to portray that, I am doing fine, even though, you're like a duck, strong, really swimming hard underwater. And so I try to portray this vision, this surface, but I was not doing well. I eventually had to speak to someone, and that was really, really helpful. I'm a big believer of mental health and support. If you need help, go talk to someone, really. And that's what I did. And having that conversations made me realize that, you know what? Why am I wallowing in this self-pity? If I want it to be better, I need to start coming up with better strategies. I need to come up with something that would change this trajectory. And so we did. We came out with Cheese Talks. We were one of the first people to come up with an online cheese masterclass. And we started off once a month, last Friday of each month, with a featured cheesemaker. So we helped the cheesemakers as well, because they were also suffering with lack of sales, right? So we helped them, they helped us. And that once a month became multiple times a week. And when we got accounts from Citibank, from big conglomerates in the business world, we were great. We were amazing. It just started from someone from Citibank telling their boss about me and about what we did, and that changed the trajectory of our business during COVID. And then at the same time, what we realized was that when we were in COVID, people were not spending money on holidays. So they had lots of extra cash. People were hungry for luxuries that they can spend on. And so that's how our very famous truffle toasties came about. $25 for a cheese toastie with Australian truffles. It was mad. It was mad. It went viral everywhere. People were breaking lockdown rules, coming from Dandenong to try my cheese toastie. It was insane. And so those two things really helped to change the trajectory of what we did. And that made me feel a lot better. And that's where I found my power in myself. That, you know what? You're not a tree. You can uproot yourself and change the direction of where you're at. So I would say that's one of the biggest challenges I've had. We have also gone through, me personally, was the whole racism thing. Being Asian, I do not appear or look like a typical cheesemonger. And I would say that, I'll share with you a story. There's one guy who came up to my shop and asked me point blank to my face, "Why are you selling cheese? You should be selling pad thai."
Oh, wow.
And he just asked me point blank, and I just had no answer. I'm like, I just like cheese. So, and yeah, so those were some of the things that I had to face. And when I also once hired this French guy who was very knowledgeable about cheese. He's amazing. He's one of my friends, and he has a shop now. And so even though I was the owner of the shop, any customers who come to the shop would refer to him to validate what I said, because they trusted him more than what I said. So there were things like that just microaggressions that really made it really challenging to sort of progress. But you know what? What doesn't kill you make you stronger. And now it doesn't bother me as much. But if it does get to a point, I have no qualms telling people off that what they're saying is wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Hakim, I have
sorry.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
Amazing.
Just I think this is important for our audience to know.
Yeah.
When Natalie asked, what are the challenges owning a business? We know that everyone got challenges. Every business have a challenges. Even you came to Australia with challenges. But there is one thing that I want you to share further.
Mm-hmm.
The way you share this, your energy and your positivity is so high. You said initially you come here with little money, big dreams.
Yeah.
Then you said also you are not a tree. You can unroot yourself and go to new direction to follow your passion.
Yeah.
Right. So during that tough times in your journey to success, which is experienced by many of our audience, how do you come back to your core so you can think strategically, so you can you can reposition your brand. You can find new ways to innovate. Everyone sell $5 toasty, you sell $25 by putting truffle, for example, into the toasty. So how do you? So if we are a different type of business, not in food, because what's the message you give to us when we are in the very challenging moment to keep being creative, confidence, positive?
Look, that's actually a really tough question, but because sometimes the ideas then that comes naturally, and sometimes you really have to dig and find that ideas, right? I mean, for us, is that we have created a culture whereby we do not mind failing to an extent, right? It's important that we are always trialing new things, but it needs to be calculated risk, right? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Our sandwiches, we've extended our sandwich range since August. We used to only sell one type. Now we have 5. And so we've opened 6 months now. And only in the last 3 weeks, we finally felt that we have the right mix of 5 types of sandwiches. Sounds really simple and easy. It's just sandwiches, right? But the number of failures that we've had to go through in those past 5 months to get to where we are right now was massive. And so that's what we encourage people. Let's come up with the best ideas. Let's brainstorm. Nothing is a bad idea, right? I have a chef, I have my store manager, I have my business partners. The 4 of us, we just blurt out ideas randomly through the day and say, hey, why not we do this? Why not we do that? And we never say no. We always go, cool, let's talk about it. And how does this idea relate back to our core values and our core mission? Does it make sense? I'm not sure whether that answers your question, but that's sort of how our process is like. And not feeling that, that we have to have the best idea or an idea that would work every single time. That's what I think our culture is about.
And I think that's perfect in any business if you can create a culture where you allow people to express ideas, where the owner or the leader or the in this context you are being the owner, is actually adopt a concept of we do not mind to fail to a certain level, which means people in your business or people that want to succeed can come up with, you wake up in the morning and you want to think that let's put curry into a toast with cheese. Maybe that's something that it's okay because you promoting the concept of let's come up with calculated risk to innovate, innovation with, of course, calculated risk, so we can continue to grow.
But Gustav, with that being said, though, I mean, and I'm sure my staff can agree to this. Yes, they may come up with an idea, but my job as the leader and as a business owner is to push that idea. And I always tell them, guys, this is my philosophy, right? You can do 95% well, but I believe that last 5% of effort that you put in makes a whole lot of difference. It goes from good to amazing. So my chef would come up with an idea and say, hey, why not we make this sandwich? And I say, and he would create the sandwich, and I would taste and I would go, you know what? It's good. It's not amazing. What's the last 5%? We need to push it to make it amazing. And then he will return back to his kitchen and come up with the last 5%, and then come back again, and then we would discuss again. So I think it's calculated risk, but it's also important to push people out of that comfort zone. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, I'm sure you've seen all of those motivational posters. This is your comfort zone where it's outside your. This is where the magic happens, when it's outside your comfort zone. And I think it's true. It's that last 5%. Push. If you can push it a bit more, I think you can create magic.
It's incredible. And it's not so much even like just listening to you, Hakim. It sounds like you create a fun, safe space for your employees to be able to voice those opinions. Because sometimes, let's be real, it could be scary to tell the business owner, hey, I've got an idea. But it sounds like you are very welcoming to this. And really encourage it, which is what a lot of business owners perhaps find challenging. Was there a point in the business where you perhaps weren't like this and you had to change, or you're always accommodating to this?
No, I mean, I have to say, like I was talking to you during a pre-chat, I'm currently going through a bit of a transition with how I lead. Coming from a tiny little shop, 10 square meters, right, to now almost 4 times bigger with 11 staff. I had to change my approach in how I lead, whereby in the past, where it's just a couple of people in the shop, I did everything. I was happy to do everything. I had a very strong grip of everything that happens in the shop. And now with more people and with an amazing, store manager and an amazing business partner, I really, really had to learn to let go. That is a very tough thing for me because I like to hold on and control whatever I can in my life. And so letting go and allowing them into my into my space is really important, that I'm sort of still trying and learning. And I think being a business owner, sometimes it's quite scary because people look at you, your staff look at you and go, oh, you feel the expectation that you need to be performing at 100% constantly, right? And that's something that I've learned that it's not sustainable, nor is it healthy. So my staff, during my interviews, I've told them there will be times where you see me breaking down, but please do not be alarmed. It is never about you. It's always about me having this internal dialogue and like internal struggle on what needs to be done as an effective leader versus what I selfishly want to do because of my own personal issues that I have. Is that struggle between the two that is just what I'm going through right now.
Yeah. And Hakim, can I put a parallel example on this? When you started the business initially, it's still very small. You say you started with a 10 square meter shop. You have to employ someone. And I'm sure that our audience is a lot of our audience is actually an owner of still a very, new and small business. Retaining a staff will be very complex. And if you always come with a risk. You mentioned you have a business partner or a friend or a staff that work with you and now owning a shop as well. How do you keep yourself comfortable with the idea that the turnover of a staff, because you might not be able to give what other bigger business able to give to them? And also thinking about someone might work for you and copy what you do in the future. How do
I deal with that?
How do you mentally? I'm talking about mentally. Of course, everyone can do what they want to do, but mentally, I think will be hard for you to think if tomorrow there will be another truffle cheese toasty out there. Easily.
I mean, I think there are 2 parts to this question. The first part was it how to retain staff, or how to sort of retain staff because there are other businesses that would can have the capacity to pay more and stuff like that. So I think, look, one of the biggest things that we did for our new staff was empowering them with all the knowledge that we possess for them. We had a very robust training session. All our staff went through a month and a half of training. So we had multiple days whereby the Queen Vic market was shut. We would open up the shop and had private training staff. We taught them everything that we knew about how to serve customers, how to taste cheese, how to select cheese, and so on and so forth. We've also created what we call the Cheese Bible, whereby every single product information about our products, about the cheese makers, where they're from, what beverage to pair it with, what knives to cut with, how to wrap every single thing you would need to know on how to empower yourself to be the best employee is in that Bible, right? We've also brought them to for excursions to meet the cheesemakers, because it's one thing to work in cheese, but it's another thing whereby you can actually see how the products are made in the flesh. That changes you, right? When you've seen it for yourself and you talk to the people who produce these things that you're about to sell. It's one thing for me to say it because it sounds like lip service, but if it comes from the people who are making it themselves, the passion really comes through. So I think that's one. My staff, we feel empowered, right? I always tell them, guys, if you are not sure of anything in the shop, please first ask myself, my business partners, and my store manager. Or if you want to try or eat anything, do not ask me. Just eat, try for free. I will not have any issues with you. Because if they can taste it, they know how it tastes like, they know how to sell better. So it's giving them the empowerment to be the best version of themselves. And also at the same time, I tell them, if you feel that this customer is a valuable customer, reward them. Please give them any discounts. I mean, of course, within some parameters, give them a discount, give them a free bag, give them a free something. Don't ask me, just do it. If you feel that these customer would be a return customer and they're valuable to us, do it. And I think also the culture. We are very, when it's time to work, we work. We are very serious. But when it comes to downtime, we play really hard. Like our humor in the shop is very inappropriate sometimes. And I mean, to the point whereby we sometimes have to go, you guys are fine, right? If you're joking like this, they're like, that is fine. And then they will continue and they would then escalate even worse than what I would say. So it's that sort of culture whereby they're so comfortable with us as the leaders that they would share anything. We've given out awards to our staff whereby, she's the most oversharer of the company. So yeah, so that's the first part of the question. And the second part, I think I have one thing to say. If people copy you, take it as a compliment, and you just gotta do better.
Yeah. And that only can happen. That only can happen if culturally come back to what you say, where you as a leader push your people to exit from the comfort zone for them to continuously innovate.
Yeah.
And that's happened.
Yeah. So just do better. People can copy all they want, but we just gotta be on a game and do better. Yeah.
Hakim, I want to ask you about establishing this credibility, because you've come from Singapore to Australia. You know how big cheese is in Australia with our cheese platters and everything. I'm sure that wasn't the case in Singapore, and yet you've broken into a market where you are, you're being asked to judge a food awards, and you're credible. You're the face on magazines. You've won multiple awards back to back. Establishing this credibility, in saturated markets is so hard. How on earth did you do it? Like, how is there any tricks on how you did this? Because what you've achieved, and I know you don't want to talk about success stories, we're talking, but it's incredible. You are a leader here, and I know it came down to hard work, but you are entirely credible. People go to you for advice and they want to copy you. I know that. So is there anything you can share with the audience as to how you establish this credibility?
So I find it challenge on how to explain this, because without sounding bad, but riding on someone else's coattails, that was how I sort of thought of it, right? So I had to find a bigger fish than I was. And the biggest fish in Australia when it comes to cheese is Dairy Australia. They're the biggest dairy organization in the country. No one is bigger than them, right? And so what I did was I aligned with them. We work together, we collaborated together. We have a very mutually beneficial relationship. And so when they engage me to be part of a panel that talks about dairy, when they engage me to go to Canberra to lobby members of parliament to support local dairy, that increased my credibility. When they engage me to cater for the massive event, for 650 people from all around the country, that increases my credibility. So it's all about finding someone or something that is bigger than you with similar values and philosophies, and asking them if they're willing to have you on board on their journey and use that to your advantage. So that's what I had to do. And funny enough, I'll share you a story. Having this alignment with Dairy Australia did not come it came unintentionally, because on the day before we opened Right, the marketing manager for Dairy Australia had just finished their AGM somewhere around the market. They walked past my shop and went, "Oh, what is this? Is this a new shop?" And then they spoke to me, I spoke to them, and that's how the connection was made. It was just the right time at the right place at the right time that allowed this alignment to happen. And of course, when that happened, it's great. But what do you do with that connection that makes the difference? All right? My business partner, I'm not someone who is very good at networking. I know. I'm a big introvert. I may sound very outspoken and big personality, but by nature I'm an introvert. He was the one who pushed me. He said, "You need to make this connection into your pot of gold." And I think it has served me so well in the past 4 years. Yeah.
So to our audience, am I right to say that yes, it's possible? It's possible to network with a bigger fish that align with the same values, and then always come back to ourselves to say what you do with this connection is the key to your success. So it's not so much about aligning with something and then not
no follow-up,
no follow-up.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's very important. The follow-ups are important. A lot of time in business or in corporate world. Yeah.
And how do you motivate yourself to do this? When you are small and there's a lot of us out there. When we are small and we don't have connections, and by chance or by luck we come across this big fish. What do you say? How
do you do it?
It's risky. It's kind of maybe
scary,
embarrassing, scary.
Yeah, of course.
What? Yeah. What? Yeah.
I think it's having a very promising elevator pitch. It's knowing what you stand for and truly believing in what you stand for and what the business stands for, and being able to concisely explain that to someone else. And you gotta capture them within the first few minutes, because if not, you lose them. So because we have such a strong messaging, a unique and strong messaging from the get-go, I think it's hard for a lot of people to just push us away. And also at the same time, being able to express it in a confident manner, you may not be someone with full of confidence, but fake it till you make it. Find that power in yourself to just go, you know what? And also be a bit delusional. Because I think you need to be a bit delusional to have this sense of grandiose about yourself, and a bit of ego, to have the courage to go to someone who is big in the industry and go, "Hey, you know what? I am someone, you need to listen to me, even though I've been around for a few months or for a few years, or I'm a small business. You're gonna listen to me. Here is what I have to pitch." Have that messaging right. Again, my business partners always tell me, you need to have a messaging right from the get-go. Make it right and drive it across. Someone, the head of marketing from the former head of marketing from the Queen Vic market actually mentioned this to us and said, you know what, guys, you guys are really good at marketing because you have a message and you have one message, but you're able to drive that message effectively, consistently into the market, whereby people have no other reason to not believe you. I think once you have that, you have that confidence in your messaging, you can just talk to anyone, really.
And Hakim, when we talk about messaging, just to make it clear for the audience, are we talking about having a clear purpose? Is that what forms the message? So for those listening, they're like, oh, what message do I have? Is it more about find your purpose? What gets you 100%. Up every morning? And then use that as your messaging.
Yes. My purpose is to champion Australian cheese, Australian artisanal cheese. That creates every single avenue of our business structure, right? Whenever we are lost, we ask ourselves, what are we doing this for? Is this doing for, some other thing? Or are we truly here to champion Australian cheese and produce? We have to get back to that one message, purpose. It's your guiding light through anything. Because, as small business owners, we do not have big pockets. Everything we spend on, everything we do has to be calculated because we have limited funds, limited resources, right? And so everything we do has to make sense to our purpose. If we deviate too much, we end up wasting time, wasting money. And that's what I've done before, whereby we have not failed in something, we were just not as successful. And that's when we deviated from what our purpose was. And so that was a lesson learned for us. It was a bit of an expensive lesson, but we learned.
And what do you think can deviate someone from that purpose? What do you think?
The allure of a potential monetary reward. That is the biggest draw.
Yeah. So are you saying that in running a business or in your journey to success, the minute your purpose is commercial, the chance of everything go downhill is actually bigger?
Yeah. I truly believe so. I grew up thinking that money, material success was, your guiding light. It is not. It just distracts you. Yeah.
That almost comes with, once you know your purpose and that's your guiding star, that money, value, and everything comes with it.
Will eventually come. Yeah, I agree. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
I was going to ask about mistakes, because if there's anyone that we can ask for an honest answer, it's going to be you, Hakim. And you mentioned that, you've made mistakes. Is there a mistake you're able to share with our audience and perhaps how you overcame this? Because as business owners, I think not many people talk about the mistakes they make.
No.
But mistakes can be, I know this sounds strange, but a good thing as well, because you know never to do it again.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can share with our audience, or perhaps you've done?
Yeah, of course.
That you've learned from?
Yeah, this was last year. When we were in the process of thinking of how do we expand, right? And what was the avenue that had least risk to us with big financial gain? You see, big financial gain. That was our biggest driver back then. And so we thought the summer night market, which was like a 16 weeks of like a food market at night, 16 weeks during summer, no, 12 weeks during summer. And so because we had a very successful product, which was our cheese toasties, successful, we sell thousands of them, right? And we thought, hey, we have this, why not we just bring our cheese toasties to the summer night market? Oh, we'll make a killing, right? We'll make a killing. And so when we pitched that idea to the market, they say that, oh, you know what? I don't think it's theater enough. There wasn't enough theater to the pitch. So then we had to switch gears. We tried to do like a dish, which was not our forte, a dish. So we did like a grilled camembert with, with like honey sugar fix and blah, 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 make it too complicated, right? And so we were excited for this product. We thought we have an amazing product, but we were definitely humbled when we started the night market. It did not go well at all. No one wanted to buy our product. Not many people wanted to buy our product because the competition was, people were selling big dishes while we were selling small little cheese dishes for more than what they were selling their big dishes for. So we were competing on price. We were competing on the value. And so, yeah, that did not go well at all. And so now we realized that we're not going to sell all of these dish, and we have also pre-ordered all the cheese from our producers. And we have thousands of cheese coming up in the next few weeks. And we were like, what the hell do we do? So we had to create a new cheese toasty on the spot. And that helped to move the needle. We eventually broke even, which is good. But, we soon realized that doing like a food product, like a dish, was not a forte. It deviated from our purpose of championing Australian cheese. And also, people didn't understood what we were doing at the night market. Our toasties were only good for mornings and afternoons, not at night. And so we've learned the hard way. It was 12 weeks of torture and hard work. And I think the second last week, this was bad. We were about to get ready to head to the market to set up. I was crying because I just could not bring myself to go and embarrass myself any longer because it was so bad. And so just had to suck it up and just went and finish off the season. And so what I've learned that, again, did not deviate from a purpose. We deviated. We were allured by the promise of good money by other traders who were doing the night market. And so what we did was we changed gear and we figured out that opening a bigger shop and expanding our Australian produce philosophy was the right thing to do. And immediately after we finished that market, we found our new shop. And guess what? It's been the best investment we've ever done so far.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Hakim, you know when that happened, when you make mistake, it's 12 weeks, 9 weeks in, everything is just so slow. Yeah. I'm sure you being the owner, you being the leader, people around you can sense
they sense it.
They can sense it. They can smell it. It's not like, probably if you are smelly, it's like cheese, right? So people can.
I wear my emotions on my face, so it's really hard to hide. I was stressed.
you are noticeable that you are unhappy. How do you handle the team? How do you so for our small business audience that have team situation, noodle shop where the broth is not salty enough, kebab shop where the meat is suddenly not as good, plumbing business where the stock of rubber seal is run out before end of the month. Like, how do you keep things in check so they still with you today during that when you're crying and angry and everything?
My staff would also agree to this. Again, all my new staff during my interview, like I said earlier, I told them that I, in fact, educated them on how to manage me when I'm in a bad mood, in my little moods, right? Because what I do is that I really, because I'm an introvert, when I'm in a bad mood or when I'm stressed, I go recluse. Again, this is something I'm working on. I just keep quiet and internalize every issues in my head, and I churn and I churn, and it just shows on my face. But I'm so blessed and lucky that I have my right hand people, my business partners, and my store manager, who are the opposites of me. They are the cool, calm, collected, lots of empathy, lots of joy in their faces. So when they see me in that spot, they know to take over, because there's no point. I know my shortcomings. There's no more point me trying to force a happy face. It just comes across as insincere, and my staff know when I'm doing that. So it's better to just check out and hand the baton to someone you know and you trust, who can do a good job at taking over the leadership.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Yeah. There's no point. I mean, if you know your shortcomings, don't yes, work on them, but in the meantime, have some strategies on, remedying any issues so everything proceeds as normal.
Yeah. Hakim, on our pre-chat, there's one particular note that you share with Natalie and I that is quite catchy, and I think it's quite true. And I think throughout you also been talking about this, but you said you want to be successful following your passion and purpose in running and opening a business. You need to be stubborn. Can you just give this to all of us? I think
what
this
is it about?
What it is about, being stubborn.
Yeah. So when I first started my business journey 8 years ago, I had 3 other business partners, and with 4 different people, you have 4 different perspectives and 4 different goals. And so I'm always the type of person whereby we have to spend a bit of money to create credibility, to create IP, to create value. And sometimes the returns is not immediate, right? It's a slow progress sometimes. But we have other people who, when they spend money, they expect an immediate return of something. And when they don't see the immediate return, they always want to push you into a direction whereby you will get the immediate return at the expense of your purpose. And because I'm so stubborn, I always push back. Because, again, like I said, your purpose is your guiding light, your guiding star. You gotta always be on that purpose. And so I always push back because I'm stubborn, and I'm glad I'm stubborn. Because if I had just went ahead with what was being suggested, I don't think we would have reached the level of success we have reached right now in such a short amount of time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You always gotta be stubborn. You gotta believe, because if you gotta be, I guess, stubborn and also be the champion. You gotta be a bigger champion of your own business and your own purpose. Because no one else around you would be champions as big as you are, right? You are the gatekeeper. You have to own it like your child, almost. You gotta protect it and nurture it. You know what's best for it. Yes, you get advice from other people, but you select what advice you want to allow in to nurture this child that you have, which is your business. And that's
just amazing. Yeah, look, Hakim, I have to ask you this, because I know in such a short amount of time you've achieved so much. You learned from your mistakes. You've now expanded the shop size, but I have a feeling that's not the end for you. There's more to your entrepreneurial journey. Is there more? Have you got more things coming that you can share with us?
Yes. I mean, there is actually. So soon, again, I'll preface this by giving the context. Because we have achieved, through the years of doing my own business and doing this whole journey, I've realized that, like I said, I've even stated earlier, that material and financial success is great, but there must be something more, right, than just that. And so this year, I feel that it is time for me to give back to my community. And so because through my journey there has been countless number of people who have helped me to get to where I am right now, and so I'm starting a social enterprise this year called the Cheese Social, and it all stems back to, again, championing Australian produce, but at the same time giving back to the community that I was once part of, which was the international student community and also the new migrant community. Australia, Melbourne, such an amazing place to live, to work, to play, to build a business. It's one of the best places I've been. And I'm so glad I moved here, you know, and I would hope that more new migrants would find the passion that I have for Melbourne, you know, and to move here as well. But I also understand that coming here on your own is such a lonely experience. You know no one, you have no connections. How do you make friends? You know, sometimes your English isn't always perfect and you are judged for that. And so no one wants to talk to you. So how do you make friends? How do you build the connections for eventual wanting to move here? And so what I found was food is our unifying factor. Every culture, what we do, we eat around food, we connect around food. And in Australia, we have a cheese culture. Let's just ask yourselves, go to any one of your friends or dinner parties or parties and events in general. What is normally served first? A cheese platter. And what do? We have a glass of wine, glass of whatever, and we sit down and we chat and we catch up. Guess what we do, right? And so I'm in a cheese business. I have skill set on how to create a cheese board. And so this Cheese Social, this enterprise, is about having international students come to my class, and I will teach them all about Australian cheese culture, the basics of cheese, on how to select cheese, and also how to create a cheese board. So when they do come to a shop or to the supermarket, they don't feel scared on how to approach this cheese purchasing. And so when they can create this cheese board, it is in the hopes that they can then invite their new friends over to their house to then connect. Because connected people, you know, people who feel they have support around them become successful and become positive contributors to society. And Melbourne, we reap the benefits through the diversity of cultures that we would retain and also help our economy. You know, I'm part of the Melbourne City Economic Advisory Committee. And one of our, you know, our targets and one of our goals is to retain more international students because 75% of them leave Melbourne. That's a huge amount of talent that has been removed from our economy that we can use to improve and better what we already have. And so, you know, that's sort of where we're at right now. We are still in the process of finalizing and, you know, fine-tuning the structure of the course, and we're waiting for a grant. Hopefully we'll get a grant from City of Melbourne, and that would help subsidize the fees of international students. So that's sort of where we're at, giving back this year.
Amazing. And all over cheese. Like cheese
all
is
over
at the
cheese.
Isn't it just incredible, Gus? Like thinking outside the box. Like you've just done.
I'm chasing your success. Imagine the next episode is
you.
all about noodles.
Yeah.
You never know, Hakim.
It's not my purpose, the champion Australian produce yet.
Thank you.
Just incredible. And look, I'm looking at the time. We're going to go over. Gus, I'm going to hand over to you to wrap up. Been an incredible hour, Hakim. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before I wrap up and summarize, Hakim, on behalf of Leader Talk and Brainiact, Natalie and I, thank you so much for donating your time for our audience. Your energy come across the screen. You know, we can see why you are successful, and we wish you best for the future. And I'm sure you will bring a lot to the cheese industry, Australian cheese industry. You start your conversation. You start your conversation by saying, "Success journey. Your success journey start with the concept of little money, big dreams."
Mm-hmm.
You're not a tree. You can unroot yourself and go to new direction to follow your passion.
Yeah.
We do not mind. You set a culture in your organization where we do not mind to fail to certain level, take calculated risks to innovate. However, at the same time, you push your people or team to exit from the comfort zone and enter the magic zone, which is the success zone. You want to retain your staff, empower them, and invest in their knowledge, which is together with the fun culture. So invest invest and empower your team, and then put a fun culture to retain them. It's all about finding bigger fish, you say, with the same values to you, and utilize this network to boost your success. However, what you do with these connections is the key to your success. Just to network will not bring you anywhere. To be successful, you have to know what you stand for. By knowing your values, what you stand for, then you can be strong to achieve what you want. You need to work on your pitch. The stronger your message to the market will come to you. The message that you talk about, it's purpose. Do not deviate from your purpose. Stay strong to your values and keep going. To be champion of your business, you have to own it. It is yours, so you have to own it and you have to win it. Thank you for your time. We all learn from you, and we wish you best success.
Thank you very much, everyone, for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you so much, Hakim. It's been wonderful. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For more information on Leader Talk and for some great resources to help your business grow, check out brainiact.com.au. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.